good. So we have email set up. We're satisfying the interface requirements of the identity system, but that's not enough, right? We want the ability to actually, for our own business reasons, be able to send email from our application. And that interface that we got there is extremely limited, right? Just an email, a subject, and a body, right? What if we want to send out bulk email to everybody about our latest and greatest sale or whatever, right? So we're going to add additional methods, okay, for business or production, okay? The iEmail sender is very limited, so we're going to go above and beyond that. Oh, by the way, I threw this in here because, remember my warning, if you send emails to bogus addresses, very quickly you'll get banned, and you'll see a message like this, okay? Verdict is suspended, okay? Outbound spam exception, right? So if you examine your exception object, if you fail, this is the kind of feedback you'll get once you're banned. So try to avoid having it happen and you'll be good. All right, so let me just get the code up and ready here. Well, actually, I'm just going to do it with my own copy-paste file. So I will bring it over here because I do have some things to discuss on the screen here, right? Okay, so the iEmail service that we have so far is very limited, right? But we can easily add by adding our own interface for sending mail and implementing our own methods, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to define a couple more classes here, my email address and my email method classes. Again, I'll throw them in view models, right? Coming down to view models. I'm going to define a basic email address class, extremely basic, because all it really is made up with is two properties, okay? The name that we're sending the email to and the actual email address, right? That's an easy one. Then I'm going to build an email message class. So this one's a little bit more sophisticated in that it has, of course, the obvious things we need for any message, a subject and a content or body, right? But along with that, I'm going to set it up so that I have, hey, I know what an email address is. What if I have a whole bunch of them, right? I want to send this one message, same subject and content, to a whole bunch of email addresses at once, right? So that's why I get it set up this way. So I have a list of these email address objects, which I created just a moment ago. Okay. So we're good there. So I can just close all that. No, we're going to be coming back here. And no, don't need that one. Okay. So I'm going to, again, in the utility area, I probably should just put this all in the same class file, but I don't know. I guess I'll be consistent with what I've been doing. I'll create the interfaces in its own file. So we'll add an interface called my email sender. Okay, I made this up, okay? If you want to give it a much more professional name, by all means, feel free. My email sender, mine, right? Okay, so it's just a simple, very simple interface, but it's a good idea to program against an interface. I'm going to have two different methods I'm going to put in my email sender. I'm going to be able to just send one email, but I do want, at the very least, instead of just having the email, I want to have a separate name from the email and then the subject and the message, right? Pretty much the same as the identity one. I could probably just use it, but I usually like to at least have somebody's name. Hey, Joe, right? Here's your email, etc., right? And this is the one that's more interesting. Send to many, right? So since we have our email message class defined, right, I can just pass in the email message. It contains everything. It has all the addresses of the people we want to send it to, as well as, of course, the subject and the content of the message to send. Okay, so now we'll implement that interface, the my email sender. So I'll just add that in utilities as well. All right, so this has the two methods, the one that's almost the same, but just slightly modified from the one supplied by the identity system, and then my more powerful one for sending to multiple people, right? So I got to be careful, right, about what usings come into play here, okay? All right, so here we are. I'm implementing my email sender, okay? Again, we're going to need our configuration, so we'll pass that in the constructor, but same as we've already been doing for the identity system. No big deal there. So here's my send one, okay? So we have the separate name and email. That's the only difference between this one and that one. Once more, make certain, come on. Okay. I didn't have the tongue in the right corner of my mouth, I guess. Make sure I'm using MailKit for the SMTP server. All right, good. Okay, and then down here is my send to many. So we pass in the email message, right? So notice that we can use add range, okay, when we define message to here, right? Pulling all the addresses where we select them, okay? Pulling the separate name and the address out of my mailbox addresses, and away we go. Okay, the from is the same as what we've done before, just getting the information from our actual email configuration. Subject, body, away we go, and the usual code to connect, authenticate, authorize, send, and disconnect. Okay, so that's good. That gives you my two methods that I want to use. Now, we need to be able to add something so that this is available through dependency injection. So once more, back into program.cs, right? So I can inject my email sender whenever I need it. Okay, so that's basically it. Ready to start using this, right? So I'm just going to save everything, do a quick build, make sure I didn't mess up my copy paste. Alrighty. I'm even going to close all these tabs. I should be done with them. Let me bring my copy paste file over though, because I have some notes in here that's worth talking about. So to use it in a controller, I first of all have some sort of generalized notes here, right? We need to add this through dependency injection into whatever the controller is, right? So we'll create a private read-only for our email sender, inject it in through the constructor, okay? Then we'll probably have, if I have a bunch of folks that I want to send an email to, maybe, I've got users who've all signed up to get a monthly newsletter about what's the latest going on in the business or whatever, right? So I come up with some link query, right, that returns all the people, okay? And for each one, I generate a new email address object, okay? Probably pulling some summary property like full name or something for the name, and of course their email address, and away we go. So that gets me my list of email addresses, okay? A logical quick check to make sure we actually have people to send it to. Then we build our email message, and we just call upon our email sender to send it. That's the general approach, but let's do a specific example. I thought about in the medical office, what could we do here? And what occurred to me is we have patients signed up for different medical trials. Well, it could be that at some point we want to reach out to everyone who's in a particular medical trial to give them some kind of an update. Oh, okay, maybe they want us to increase dosages or just be aware of symptoms to look out for or whatever, right? So we want to blanket send an email to everybody who's currently in a given medical trial. Okay, so you can follow along as we put this into place in our actual example. So in the medical trial controller, that's where I'm going to begin. So come up here, medical trial controller, right? So I do need to add, we already have our constructor here where we just get our medical office contact, but I also want to have the ability to send email, right? So I will add, first of all, the private read-only email sender, okay? And of course, we actually have to add that as well, inject that into the constructor. And then that allows me then to assign it to my private variable. Pardon me. There we go. So now, with that quick and easy change, I now have the ability to send email from inside my controller. Okay. So we already have our basic, I'll just go Control-M-O. We have our basic, we have our creates, we have our edits, our deletes. That's all set up and working. And of course, it's all set up to use the lookup controller, right? I'm just going to add a new method. Now, I'm going to set up this method instead of having a separate get and post, right? Because I'm not saving to the database, so I don't really need to worry so much about that separation. I'm just going to use the one action for both. So it's just going to be an action. I'm going to call it notification. Let me put my code in place. Okay. So just an action result, notification. I'm going to pass in the ID. Now that's going to be the ID of the medical trial, right? And then the subject and email content that I'm going to send out to everyone in the trial, right? So first of all, I make sure I do have an ID, okay, for the medical trial. And I'll go and I'll get the medical trial, right? Just going to Contacts, Medical Trials, find by the ID. Now I'm throwing this into view data because I'm going to store it in the view. Remember, this view is just going to be a back and forth, a round robin between the controller and the view, okay? Because I might decide I want to send multiple separate messages to everyone in the medical trial, right? So eventually I'll navigate away from this, you know, maybe back to the lookups controller or whatever. But, you know, it's not like a database operation where I use the get to prepare and the post to actually carry it out and we're done, right? We might just sit on this page for a little while. So I still have a basic check, you know, do I actually have a subject and email content? Now, the first time I come here, I won't, right? So that's okay. The first time I get there, I should see this message. You must enter both. So it's, you know, think of it more rather than an error message that I'm just explaining to the user what they have to do. They have to enter both the subject and some message content before they can send, okay? Else, okay, so I'm going to assume now they've done all that, they filled that out, and they've clicked the button to send the email, right? So I'm going to come down here, okay, and, you know, we just prepare my folks count variable. We do our link query, so I'm just going to patients, okay, where the medical trial, remember that's a nullable foreign key, right, but the ones that are null just won't match. It's not a problem. Medical trial ID equals, okay, the ID of the medical trial we passed in. And for each one, I'll go and get them, and I'll build a new email address object, pulling the name from the full name of the patient, and the email of the patient becomes the address, right? And that gives me my list of email addresses. Okay, as long as I actually have them. Oh, I forgot to change this. It seems to want me to just do the count property. I guess it's more efficient. Anyway, I should change that in my copy-paste file before I forget again, because I forgot last time. There we go. Okay. So if we have people that we want to send this message to, if it's at least greater than 0, then I'll build the email message. Remember, it supports multiple addresses to send to, so that becomes my list of email addresses. I just assign it directly to the to addresses property of the email message. Subject. Now I'm taking the content that they typed and I'm just wrapping it in a paragraph tag. Remember, it is HTML, or it supports HTML, right? And threw in a little footer here. Please access the Niagara College site to review. I don't know. It's just whatever popped into my head at the time. Okay. And then here we go. One line of code. Email sender, send to many, right? And that will pass my message on to many people all at once. And then I'm throwing into view data just so we could show that message. Remember, this is the same message. I show at the top of the page. Okay. Message sent to, I'll tell them how many people actually were in the list of people to send the message to, right? Or if there was nobody, then I'll say, message not sent, there were no patients in the medical trial. That can happen, right? That way we're covering all of our bases. And our catch here, just in case there was some sort of exception, like somebody has been sending emails to bogus email addresses and now they're locked out. Okay, error, cannot send email message to the X patients, right, in the trial. There we go. And we return view. So don't just keep going back and forth between the view and here until we're done and we navigate away. That's the whole idea. All right. If you're a little unclear on how this is supposed to work, don't worry. We'll run it in a minute or two, and I think you'll get the understanding as we actually watch it in operation. Now, I want to add a link, right, so we can select a medical trial and come to this page. Well, where do we, all our links, our action links for dealing with medical trials? Yeah, they're on that partial view. So I come down to Views, in Lookout. Here's my medical trial partial view. Remember, we have these links here already for create, edit, delete, okay? And of course, these ones have that link click class. So the client-side JavaScript prevents the default action of following the link and then makes the changes for us to actually take us where we want to go. So it's going to be exactly the same approach here. I'm just going to add a new link. Okay, medical trial action is notification. Make sure I have the link click class in there so the client side JavaScript will grab the click event and handle it properly for me. The only thing I'm missing is I need one of these space pipe characters just to separate it so it's consistent with the rest. Okay. All right, so now that's ready to actually allow us to choose to send this notification. Last but not least, we need the actual view, right? Haven't created that yet. Okay, so coming up here to notification, we know I can do this. I can right click and add view. It'll just be an empty razor view. Notification empty. Yep, using the layout page. So a pretty simple view, not much to it. Okay. Notification email, message to patients in the name of the medical trial. That's why I added that into the view data, the name of the medical trial, right? Here's my spot to show the message. Now I've set it to text danger just so it's red up at the top of the screen, stands out, okay? 2 hidden inputs for the ID of the medical trial and the medical trial name, just so that it, if I'm going back and forth between this and the controller, that's passed back and forth. And then here's my input for the email subject and a text area for the email content, okay? Notice I'm forcing it rows equals 5, columns equal 40, right? Because with a, pardon me, a text area, if you don't specify otherwise, it's fairly small on the screen. So by setting a rows and columns attribute, it just automatically gives me a bit more space to see right away and type the message in, right? And just a submit button. And of course, hey, after all, we've got all the smarts in place so that this should actually have a return URL in my back to list link that will take me back to the lookup controller to the right tab, in this case, the medical trial tab. And that should take care of it. Let's just give her a try. Pardon me. Okay. Now, obviously, I have to log in. I'll log in as admin. All right. So one of the first things I'm going to want to do, I don't want to take the chance of sending out an email to a whole bunch of people. Remember, we got a lot of patients in the system, right? They all have an email address, and some of them are in all different medical trials. In fact, like I could filter by medical trial, pick anyone I want, and I'm bound to have a few people here. Well, I don't want to try to send email to all these addresses because they're fake, right? Any email address that's in there is not legitimate, and it will just very quickly disable my account for spamming bogus email addresses. So the safest thing is I'm going to create a new medical trial. New trial. Okay. Now, there's nobody in it because I just made it, right? So I'm going to have to make a new patient. Remember, I exist as a login entity, but I'm not in here as a patient, right? And I can only send to patients. So I'm going to have to take a moment here and create a patient with an email address that is not a bogus email address. So I might as well use David Stovall. That's not my birthday, by the way, in case you were wondering. Phone, that works fine. Okay. Now, is it in the list? Yeah, look at that. Good. dstevall@niagaracollege.ca, right? I'm all set up for that one. That's good. I can just use it for testing. Medical trial. I'll make sure I'm assigned to that new trial. So I should be the only one in here, right? Select the doctor. There we go. Does anyone want to join me? Anyone else want to get this email? I can create another patient in here with your email address. Any volunteers? Just to show it goes to multiple people. Okay. Could you just do me a favor so I don't have to go look it up? Either one of you or both of you, just put your email in the chat window so I can copy and paste. Sorry, I spelled your name wrong. Okay. Hey, we have the same birthday. How about that? I'll add you to the same trial. And boy, you're in rough shape. Look at all the trouble you've had, hey? We share the same doctor, though. All right, that's good. Okay, all right, we'll do Christina as well. Is that a middle name and a last name, or does it go like that, Christina? Okay, all right, good. Just because I have to have something in here, or it won't let me do this. Okay, and so there's 3 of us all in this medical trial. Interestingly, we all have the same doctor and everything. Okay, so let me come back here to the lookup values, go to medical trials, select the new trial, and bada bing, send email notification. So I came here, right, with a GET request. 6 is the ID of the medical trial. But of course, I got kicked back here with this message because nothing has been filled out. So just a test of sending email to everyone in the trial. You are about, no, I'm not going to put that. All right. Now, don't the rest of you wish that you had decided to be in the medical trial? Yeah, I bet you do. Okay, let's give it a go. Message sent to 3 patients. Don't tell me I've been blocked already. I don't have a message. Oh, there it is. There we go. Just a test of sending email to everyone in the trial. I'm about to be very, very happy. Okay, please access. All right. So you can see all the text there. So yeah, it worked. And you can see all the addresses of the people up here. So everyone get their email? Not yet? All right. Well, should be there soon. It shows me that it went to all 3 unless I got the email addresses wrong when I copied and pasted them. Hopefully not, or I'll get banned pretty soon. Okay, well, that finishes the demonstration anyway. So see, I'll come back here. I could send more emails, or I could go back to the medical trial list. And because of the return URL, we're right back on the medical trials, and away we go. Any questions about that? Okay. Just as a final point, let me point out the difference between the account that I logged in, right, had nothing to do with the fact that there was a patient with that same email. In a subsequent lesson later on, we're going to see how we can make a more holistic approach that handles both all of our staff, employees, volunteers, whatever, and ties that directly into managing the logins all together in one, right? Okay, but that's the end of the demo. Any questions? All right, well, I'm just going to stop the recording.